We have the PvE changes, which affect PvE and PvP, and then we have the just PvP specific changes. So we'll go over the full changes first. We have Demon Hunter, the hunt reduced by 10% damage, and Fodder to the Flame proc no longer scales with haste. To be honest, I don't know what Fodder to the Flame is, so let's take a look. Okay, so Fodder to the Flame is the demon proc. And it no longer scales with haste. Wait, your damaging abilities have a chance to call forth a demon. It deals lethal damage to the demon, which explodes on death, dealing shadow damage to nearby enemies and healing you. So this no longer scaling with haste. I wonder like how much that actually matters. Maybe that's a huge deal. Because right now, demon hunters just get those demon procs and it just heals them to full every time and they never die. So maybe that's really good. And the hunt damage reduced, that's fine. Like demon hunters are so OP with their one shot that this was like totally, like it could have been 20% or 30% to be honest. So 10% is like, you got lucky if you're a demon hunter with a 10%. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, demon hunters are still gonna be nuts. And Fodder to the Flame proc, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Druid, regrowth healing decreased by 6. So I'd say Druid's throughput is like one of the best right now. So this kind of makes sense in terms of you know, nerfing regrowth, so that's fine. Steel trap damage reduced by 20, explosive shot increased, barrage increased, marksman increased 10%, and serve increase. I'd say this generally makes sense for Hunter. Hunter has been underperforming. I don't know about PvE, and I guess this is a PvE change, but in PvP, Hunters are like okay if anything. Mage, fire. Flame Strike buff, Pyroblast buff, Fireball buff, Scorch buff, Ignite buff. So I'd say this is probably a good thing. One, because I'm a mage, and two, because I like to play fire, and three, because mages have been generally underperforming, or fire mages have been generally underperforming when you compare it to other specs, like in other casters. So I'd say that's yeah, that's a pretty good change, I'd say. Now here's the issue. Flame Strike you almost never use in arena. Scorch you almost never use in arena. Ignite doesn't really do much in arena. Fireball you don't cast too many fireballs in arena when going for kills. So the only one that actually matters between all these changes is Pyroblast, and it's only 5%. So is 5% Pyroblast damage gonna do anything? Maybe not. Maybe not. Rogue, Asa, Exsanguinate cooldown reduced to 3 minutes. Increase to 3 minutes was 45 seconds. Wait, what? 45 to 3 minutes? What? That seems like a huge nerf. Wait, what? 45 seconds to 3 minutes? Damn, all right. We just go from like 0 to 100, I guess. Sure. I don't know. I mean, geez. We recognize this is a heavy nerf for an individual talent, but it's important that Exsanguinate's power be similar to alternative available talent choices. Wow. So that's kind of crazy. I think Asa was one of the best PvP rogue builds, but with that, maybe sub is just going to be better. Keep reading. Brewmaster balance now grants increased stamina. Man, I still think tanks should not be allowed in PvP whatsoever at all. Period. The end. I'm on that camp because if you're a tank, you should queue a raid or a dungeon and GTFO the arena and the battlegrounds. I'm sorry. So that's my stance on that. I want to be very clear. Mistweaver, awakened feline spinning crane kick now heals 3 nearby allies for 60% instead of 50. It's a buff. Mistweaver, I guess it's like middle of the pack for healers right now, so I guess it's fine. Vivify to heal primary target increased by 20. Peaceful Mending now increase the healing and enveloping mist. So just buffs across the board. All right, we'll see where that puts it. I still think it might be weaker than, well, I don't know, we'll see. Might be weaker than Evoker still. Prop Pally buffs. Dude, I hope these buffs don't make their way into PvP, man. Yeah. I hope these buffs don't make their way into PvP. So the chat's asking about RBGs. What do I think about tanks and RBGs? I think RBGs are more fun without tanks as FCs. We've seen a couple seasons like that in the past where like it was Rogue FC, Mage FC, Feral Druid FC, stuff like that. I think it's fine. I don't think tanks need to be in RBGs either. Actually, I think RBGs are better without tanks. Yes. They're more fun. Because then you have like a Mage FC and it's like really interesting. Because the Mage is using things like Alter Time and stuff to try to avoid, and it's not just like an unkillable tank. And the premise, if you guys want me to touch on it real quick, of not allowing tanks into rated battlegrounds or rated arenas is generally the concept of, I think the mentality behind give the players what they want is a good one. And if a majority of the players want something, I think that's the direction that Blizzard should go into and go, right? And if 50% of a player base wants something, then maybe that's not enough. If 60% of a player base wants something, then maybe it should be implemented. If 70% of the player base wants something and 30% don't, then, you know, it's probably getting to the point where you should probably add it, right? If 80 or 90% of the player base wants something and 10% don't, then you probably should definitely add it. Now, if 99% of your player base wants something and 1% don't, then you should almost certainly add it into the game, right? And this is the case for tanks in rated arenas. 99% of the player base absolutely hate fighting tanks in arenas. 1%, the tanks, don't mind it. They actually like it. Now, what should Blizzard do? You can make 99% of the player base happy by removing tanks from arenas, or you can make 1% of the player base happy by keeping them. To me, it's an easy choice. You piss off the 1%, you make the 99 happy, and that's how I think game design should be. You make choices based on what the majority of the player base wants. And no one likes fighting tanks, except if you're a tank player. And that's just the facts. All right, moving on. Shaman, healing increased by 5%, and acid rain damage increased by 50. I think Shaman's a little weak. 5% buff might not be enough, but it's a start. Acid rain. Okay, no, that's not what we want. Wowhead. Here we go. Deal 18% of spell power nature damage every 1 second up to 6 enemies inside of your healing rain. Okay, so that does like nothing pretty much. It's kind of a cool talent though. It heals people and hurts people too. It's kind of dope. It's like a Holy Nova kind of. All right, Warlock. Soul Leech now converts 3% of damage instead of 6. All right, that's huge. Warlock's way too tanky. Soul Leech 50% nerf from 6 to 3. That's great. I think this is good. To be honest, Warlocks will probably still be too tanky with dark. Their shield, their 1 minute cooldown shield, dark something, sacrifice. Soul Leech, they have like 3 things that make them super tanky. This is one of them. So it's gonna help. I think they might still be too tanky. Oh, Dark Pact, yeah. Dark Pact, Soul Leech, and then one other thing. So Warlocks will probably still be too tanky after this. They still probably need more nerfs, but this is a start, and that's good. Happy about that. Warriors. Fueled by Violence now heals for 85% of the damage done by deep wounds instead of 65%. Okay, this is probably a good thing. I think in general, I'm like all for reducing self-healing from classes that aren't healers. In a perfect world, I think no class heals except hybrids, and hybrids have to cast their heals. So, including mages, by the way, like including rogues, including everything. So yeah, I think that's a good direction to take. Oh wait, no, they're buffing it. Oh, nice. It heals for 85 instead of 65. Oh, so they're buffing self heals. Oh, great. And then they're buffing it for prot too. Uh-oh. All right. Well, those are the PvE changes. Now we'll get into actual PvP changes. So all the PvE ones that we just talked about do impact PvP, but the PvP ones also impact PvP. We have Death Knight changes. Now, Sea-Doo, I saw on Twitter, was like really upset about these changes. I haven't really read them yet, so let's take a look. Anti-magic shield absorption, shell absorption reduced by 25% in PvP. That seems fine. I mean, on my Evoker, when someone pops AMS, like I can't even break it before it's over. Like it's ridiculous. That seems fine. I don't see any issue with this so far. Will of the Necropolis damage reduced by 50%. Okay, that's a big nerf. What's Will of the Necropolis? Let's take a look. Damage taken below 30% health is reduced by 20%. So instead of a 20%, it's 10%. Okay, I mean, did DKs ever die anyway? Maybe that's fine. Anti-magic barrier increase to anti-magic shield duration and amount absorption has been reduced by 50% in PvP combat. Okay. Anti-magic barrier increase. Is this a talent? Because okay, yeah. It's a PvP talent. Reduces the cooldown of AMS by 20 seconds to increase its duration and absorption by 40%. So this is just an increase of 40% nerf by 50%. So instead of a 40% buff, it's gonna be a 20% buff. So this sounds like a big nerf, but it's not that bad. A-Bomb Limb will no longer pull individual enemy players more than once over its duration. Once over. Okay, this is a good change. I know it's a nerf, but this is actually just good quality of life. Who the hell likes being grippy boyed, man? This is awesome. They grip you in, you blink out. They can still grip you again with their other grip, but A-Bomb Limb won't just spam grip you. That's huge. W's in the chat for that change, boys. Easy clap. Massive, massive change. Thank you. That's good. Improved Death Strike, increase in Death Strike's healing has been reduced by 50% in PvP combat. Okay. I'm all for less self-healing in PvP, so I think it's a good change. Having said that, the nerf to this, to this, to this, to this is gonna add up. Like, DKs might be a bit squish. Death Strike's healing increase based on recent damage is reduced by 50% if the damage was dealt by players on their pets. Death Strike's healing based on recent damage is reduced by 50% if the damage is dealt on players or their pets. Wait, what does this mean? Death Strike healing increased based on recent damage is reduced by 50% if the damage was dealt by players or their pets. Is it just a 50% nerf? Because in PvP, what do you mean? All of this is going to be... Oh, this was just improved Death Strike. So improved Death Strike is reduced by 50%. And then Death Strike's healing is reduced by another 50. Okay, to be honest, I think the A-Bomb Limb change is good. And the AMS nerf is good. And maybe even the Will of Necropolis nerf is good. And I actually think these are all good nerfs, but the percentages might have been a bit too high. I actually like the fact that I think all classes should have less self-healing, especially Death Strike, but every class, rogues and mages included, priests, like everything. So I think this is a step in the right direction, but we need to see other classes self-healing get nerfed too, not just Death Knights. But I do think they're all good changes, to be honest. I think they might have been a bit overboard, though, in terms of the percentages. But we'll see. I don't think it's the end of the world. Yeah. Next, Druid, Resto. Budding Leaves is now 70% effective in PvP. Makes sense. I feel like Druids are pretty insane. Evoker. Scarlet Adaptation's cap. So Scarlet Adaptation, guys, stores healing done, and you can do it as damage. Reduced by 30%. That was necessary. I think it's fine. Fire Breath's initial damage is reduced by 30% in PvP combat. Okay. That's the one dig. Okay. I crit 250k yesterday, so now we're only going to be critting, like, what, 180k now or something? So, sure, I guess it makes sense. It is what it is. I mean, we all knew this was going to get nerfed. We all knew this was going to get nerfed, chat. We all knew this was going to get nerfed, dude. It got nerfed. It's fine. Disintegrate and Pyre deal 15% increased damage from PvP, so that's a buff. Man, yesterday on the stream, I said Fire Breath is gonna get nerfed and Disintegrate is gonna get buffed. A day later. Nice work, Blizz. Nice work, man. This is actually exactly what I would do to Evoker. Nerf Scarlet Adapt, nerf Fire Breath, buff Disintegrate. This is good. This is really good. Preservation mana nerfs, but that's it. Okay. Yeah, I think Preservation still is going to be insane. Arcane Mages. Fire Frost Mages. All right, let's get some water. Arcane. Nether Precision is now 75% effective in PvP. It's an Arcane nerf to Arcane Blast. Arcane Blast was critting like 150k or something. 140k maybe. I think it's a good nerf. I think it's a good nerf. Arcane Blast top end was too high. This is going to help with that. Prodigal Savant is now 80% effective in PvP. No one ran this talent. I'm pretty sure. This was the bottom left of the tree, I think. Yeah, no one ran this talent, so that doesn't matter. Because no one played Mass. Yeah, that doesn't do anything. Arcane Bombardment is now 65% effective in PvP combat. That's probably also good. The execute of Arcane Bombardment was like, it could non-crit 100Ks. It could crit like 200 or something for an execute. Probably a little strong. It's still going to be really good after the 35% nerf. So yeah, I think these are all good changes. All the nerfs are good, I think, for Arcane. I think Arcane is still going to be really strong. It's probably going to still be the strongest of the mage specs because the fire buffs didn't do much. Arcane is going to be insane still. Still going to be really good. Frost. Piercing Cold is now 50% effective in PvP combat. So Piercing Cold is the talent that makes frozen targets take more damage if they're frozen and rooted, I think. Let me double check that. No, this is Icicle crit damage. Good thing I double checked. Icicle crit damage increased. So if Icicle crit damage is increased, that means Glacial Spike damage is increased. So nerfing Piercing Cold nerfs Glacial Spike and Icicles. I don't know if I like this nerf. I think it would have been better to just nerf. Actually, hold on. Let's read the developer's notes. Glacial Spike crits are hitting harder than we like. Right, because Glacial Spike, yeah, Glacial Spike's too strong. Despite the long cast time attached to the spell, reducing Piercing Cold's crit strike. I disagree with, based on what they want to nerf, I disagree with how they nerfed it. I agree that Glacial Spike needed a nerf, but you don't want to nerf Piercing Cold because that doesn't nerf just Glacial. That nerfs Icicles and Glacial. So now if you don't run Glacial, you're nerfed anyway. So that's not smart. I think it would have been smarter just to nerf Glacial Spike base damage and keep Icicles as they were. So I agree with what they want to nerf. I disagree with how they nerfed it. Iceland's damage increased by 20%. So that'll be crazy. Iceland's might hit hard. Maybe an instant cast Iceland's build will be good. PvP talent Snowdrift no longer has a cast time. Instant cast. Well, thank God no one ran this talent. So hopefully that'll be decent. This talent, 1 minute cooldown, 1.5 second cast before these changes. It summons a blizzard around you and deals damage, which is like no damage basically, but just enough to break CC. And the enemies caught in the Snowdrift become stunned, frozen in ice for 4 seconds. This should just be deep freeze. This should just be deep freeze. I know they're trying to be cute and make a cool new spell that is different than deep freeze, but this should just be deep freeze. Deep freeze is cool. Deep freeze is it's nice that you need a Fingers of Frost to use it. Like the whole design of deep freeze is awesome. This should just be deep freeze, to be completely honest. Yeah. No longer has a cast time, and they reduced it to 45 seconds instead of 60. I think it's going to be good enough to run now as a defensive talent. As a defensive talent. I think if you're being trained by a rogue, you just pop Snowdrift and they can't train you anymore. They have to run away because if they train you, they're going to get stunned. But I don't see a world in which you're using Snowdrift aggressively, like Snowdrift, like blink in to try to stun someone. Like you could, but I think it's going to be used more as a defensive, kind of like Mirror Image or Blast Wave or you know, maybe like throwing a blizzard on the ground so people don't want to stand in it. It's going to be like, okay, I'm going to pop Snowdrift and be annoying so someone doesn't stand in it. it's a buff. It's probably gonna be good, but I don't know. I would rather just see deep freeze. Like, I don't know. It's like trying to reinvent the wheel here. I'd rather just see deep, I think. Yeah, for sure. 100%. But it is what it is. If it was me, I would just take away the whole talents, put in deep. All right. So yeah, I don't know. I think Frost will be interesting. I don't think Frost will be as good as Arcane or Fire still, even after the buffs. And I think Arcane is still king even after the nerfs. And I think Fire might be in the middle. Mistweaver now heals for 375 instead of 240. Ancient teaching of the monastery. Wow. So this is like their melee, like if they do damage, it heals. I like that. I think it's kind of cool when healers can heal through doing damage. I think it's cool. Echoing reprimand damage reduced by 30%. That's it. Wow, Rogues got away so lucky. Are you kidding me? Okay, so I think Shadow Blades for sure needs a nerf. For sure needs a nerf. And I think Shadow Strike for sure needs a nerf. Shadow Blades and Shadow Strike for sure. And all they did was nerf Echoing Reprimand. That's crazy. So Rogues are still going to be nuts. This doesn't do much. This doesn't do much at all, to be honest. Yeah. Rogues are still broken. For sure. Sub-Rogue. Nuts. Enhance. Improved Maelstrom Weapon increases the damage and healing of all spells by 8 to 15% per stack of Maelstrom Weapon. It's a slight nerf. That's good. Raging Maelstrom increased the effectiveness of Maelstrom weapon stacks by 3% in PvP instead of 5. Okay, good, I guess. Storm Strike and Wind Strike damage increased by 30% in PvP combat. Interesting. So they're just moving the damage around. Less burst, more sustain, it seems like, from the developer's notes. Okay, sure. We'll see how that fares. Enhance is broken right now, so we'll see if this does what it needs to do. Elemental Shaman. Magma Chamber effectiveness reduced by 50% in PvP. Because Earthshock and Ele Blast from Ele Shamans deal more damage than intended. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. That's huge. W, man. Curse of Tongues reduced by 10% instead of 15. I think it's actually a good change that's long overdue. Curse of Tongues is like crazy good. I like that. Curse of Tongues applied through Amplified Curse increases cast time by 20% instead of 35. Probably good. Yeah, I think this is good. I like that. I cannot believe that's the only nerf Warlocks have, though. And I actually can't believe, speaking of, I can't believe, no priest nerfs. What? Priests are insane. That's crazy. No priest nerfs is nuts. Warrior. Yo, we got a prime from Aliens. Thanks for the prime sub, man. Appreciate it. I cannot believe priests didn't get nerfed. That is crazy. Mortal Strike is no longer reduced by 30%. Wow. Sharpened Blades now increases critical damage by 5. Was 10. Martial Prowess now increases Mortal Strike damage by 15. Was 30. So they're just changing how it works, I see. Martial Prowess isn't going to do the damage. It's going to be baseline now. Execute increased. Rend reduced. So they're just like moving stuff around. I think this is an overall buff, though. I think this is an overall buff. Especially if you consider these. I don't know how much of a buff that's going to be, but yeah. All right, well, those are the changes. I think overall they're good, but it's not nearly enough. I think Rogues are still going to be OP. I think Shadow Priest needs a huge nerf. I mean, I've already went in depth of how I feel about Mage. I think the Evoker changes are good. Druids are good. DK might be a little overboard. Shaman changes are good. Locks are definitely going to need more nerfs. For sure, by a lot. Yeah, that's that. Class tuning incoming. Boom. We'll see what it do be.